I was not there for rehearsal. I don't need it anymore. When I show up just in time to pop, you can clear the goddamn floor. Empty out the locker room. Let me find my space. Let him who thinks he knows no fear look well upon my face. Opening lyrics of the 2015 track Werewolf Gimmick from the Mountain Goats album Beat the Champ. Now, Beat the Champ is different than the previous album that we covered, the previous album being Tallahassee, in that Tallahassee is about a sort of failing relationship that covers the interpersonal connections and the poor and horrible things that people do to each other when they can't seem to find a way together or apart. Beat the Champ is a wrestling concept album. See, John Darnielle watched pro wrestling when he was younger. He was profoundly affected by it in a few different ways. And the ways in which wrestling embody the kinds of storytelling that he does are really, really cool. And so this entire album goes front to back through the sort of the kayfabe, the in character stuff for wrestling, and also, you know, talks about the actual sort of real behind the scenes stuff that you don't really see when you're watching a professional wrestling promotion. Moreover, the wrestlers that John talks about and the situations that come up on this album, they aren't the WWE, right? These are the wrestlers of days gone by. This is a look at small promotions as they exist across the United States. Werewolf Gimmick is the song that we're covering today, and this one is, I guess you could call it a classic Mountain Goats song. It's John strumming fast, it's John singing loud, and it is about an over-the-top local wrestler whose gimmick, whose character on stage, if you will, in the wrestling ring is a werewolf. And he goes absolutely too far every single time. He is lost in his own sauce, as it were, and he hurts people, right? He wants nothing more than the violence that comes with what it means to embody this persona. The ending or the chorus of this song starts out, it's two repeated lines: nameless bodies in unremembered rooms, and then the third line varies depending on which part of the song you're in. And he literally, when he gets told to dial it back, when he gets told that what he's doing is too much, he, maybe in actuality, it's hard to say, maybe just in, you know, in his imaginings. Oh, yeah, just wanted to double check to see that I was actually recording this audio. When he gets told to dial it back, when he gets told that what he's doing is too much, he either imagines or he actually kills everybody in the building. We don't really know. We're not given an answer in the song. The song is a little over 2 minutes. It's a quick tune, and we really don't get, you know, a full picture of what this guy is like. In classic John Darnielle fashion, we get a snapshot from somewhere in the middle of his story. We don't know how he came to have this gimmick. We don't know where he's going to go to from here. All we know is that he is vicious, he is bloody, and he is murderous. And Werewolf Gimmick punches hard from the beginning, and it ends with an absolute bang. So that is the song that we are using to make the deck for today. So this deck is headed up by the one, the only Tovolar, Dire Overlord. Tovolar was introduced in Innistrad Midnight Hunt. He is probably the best werewolf commander that's out there, and he has the Daybound, Nightbound function that was introduced also in Innistrad. It's similar to how werewolves worked in the original incarnations of Innistrad, but those were all triggered one at a time. With this, if it is day, which it becomes day as soon as anyone in the game casts a werewolf, you've got the card facing up on its front side. if no one casts a spell on their turn, it becomes night, and Tovolar and other werewolves like this flip over, and they have other effects in their wolf forms. So that's who's starting all of this up. Now, I said on Twitter that I was kind of spoiled for choice when it comes to this deck. I mean, we just came off a year when there were 2 Midnight Hunt releases, and that gave us a lot of werewolves to choose from. It gave us a lot of options here. So what I did, if you'll take a look at the Moxfield link, which is down below in the comments, is I divided this deck into, well, non-traditional categories, right? We still have our mana rocks, right? We have our land, all that good stuff. I put in, again, just a solid, yet not like awe-inspiring mana base. I basically want the deck to function. So there are, 35, 36 lands. Let's just see here. Yeah, 35 lands and some mana rocks. I am a little low a little lower than you might put in some commander decks, but I really wanted to sort of capture the spirit of the guy who's in this song, and wanted to make it so he was just sort of rushing into things and not really thinking about the consequences, and maybe drawing dead and not having enough mana represents that pretty well. So what I did was I took these piles. We've got the wrestler here himself, and then I've got flavor. I have his gimmicks. We've got other wrestlers in the promotion. I have his sort of move set. We get those piles moved around so I can do these in the right order. And then we have like the stuff that actually just sort of happens when he's in the ring. So to do all of this, right, this is sort of the spirit of this podcast. The alpha couple from No Children in the first video gives us a lot of narrative to work with. Those lyrics really evoke what is actually happening, and you can just sort of pull cards that are on theme for each pair of that couple. With this, I had to assume some of the things that were happening and tell more of the story myself. So in the flavor section, right, we're going to start with grapple with the past. Right, everyone has a past, and he's obviously dealing with some stuff, and grappling is a wrestling thing. A lot of this is going to feel that way, so get ready for some obvious things. We have Whisper Silk Cloak, right? All the equipment in this deck represents things he might have in the ring. So like this is the cloak he walks in for his entrance, right? He's wearing a cloak that he shrugs off. Mark of Fury, right? Imagine face paint, war paint, the Ultimate Warrior type stuff. Rancor describes him to a T. We have Primal Rage, again, just all going on here. Invigorating Hot Spring, because you need a soak after a match. Howling Mine, Werewolf, Howl. You see where I'm going here. Blinding Powder, right? Secreting something inside your hand, messing up the other person. Brass Knuckles, need I say more? The Hall of Triumph, where the matches happen, especially in his mind, where everything's super grandiose. Boxing Ring, because that's what the ring is actually sized as. Struggle and Survive. Road to Ruin, because it sounds like that's where he's heading. There's a card called Ready to Rumble. Are you kidding me? This has to be in this deck. Improvised Weaponry, again, very wrestling themed. Jetmir's Fixer, because you have someone fix the fights. Why not, right? There's a little clandestine stuff going on in this promotion. And the Belt of Giant Strength. Fun fact, there is only one belt in all of Magic the Gathering, and it's this. There are 8 cards with belt in the name, and this is an equipment that gives your equipped creature base power and toughness 10/10. It costs equip 10, but if you have a higher power, it reduces it by that amount. So this is your championship belt, right? This is the thing that you want to get on him if you're playing this deck story-wise. So these are the flavor cards. This is the stuff that represents the promotion. Then we have his gimmicks, right? These are the other werewolves that I included in the deck. I stuck with the new werewolves from Innistrad because I didn't want to have to navigate the old cards flip cycles being different from day and night. So basically, in his past as a wrestler, he's had a bunch of different gimmicks before he settled on the Dire Overlord. So we have the Outland Liberator for some artifact destruction. We have the Spell Rune Painter. When instances and sorceries, which become important in this, you get a bonus. Bird Admirer, just have some reach to cut things down. Reckless Stormseeker for some hastiness. Tovalar's Huntmaster for extra tokens and just a big body. The Lamholt Raconteur, when you cast non-creature spells, it damages each opponent. Again, this is going to become important. And Child of the Pack, so think of him in his first incarnation. So I imagine these personas, these things all sort of flashing through his mind as he is wrestling, right? He's calling upon all of the other wolf personas that he's held over time. But you obviously can't have a wrestling promotion with just one wrestler. That's not going to work. So we have a suite of legendary creatures that are wrestlers in this promotion. So Mina and Den, Wildborn. It's a tag team, baby. So you can play additional lands. This is going to help with some of the ramp because there's not a lot of ramp package in this. Jolene, the Plunder Queen, perfect wrestler. Halana and Elena, partners, another tag team, fantastic. Gut, True Soul Zealot. I love goblins just personally. They're my favorite creature type. So there are a few goblin gimmicks going on in this deck. Gorogoro, Disciple of Ryusei. Kiki Jiki, the Mirror Breaker, because you want to copy some stuff. Kovori, God of Kinship. Renata, Called to the Hunt. Rishkar, Pima Renegade. And Nayeth of the Dire Hunt. These are all of our other wrestlers. And the theme with these is they all sort of get exploited and used by him to his own ends when they're on the battlefield with him, right? They all provide him bonuses whether they want to or not, because this guy is all about himself. Before we get into like the meat of the deck and what sort of the way this all functions is, we have his signature moves, because you have to have a move set as a wrestler. So his moves that the announcers will call out are Kindred Summons, Duel for Dominance, right? This is all feeling very wrestling to me. Alpha Status, that's obviously a hold. Headlong Rush, it's a spear of some kind. And Fling, because you got to throw people over the top rope. So these are his signature wrestling moves. And last not least, this is where the real like theme of the deck and how this is supposed to function comes in. This is why we have some wolf personas, quote unquote, that have that do damage, or you gain a bonus when you cast an instant or sorcery, because we have a lot of instants or sorceries in this deck. I called this category Violence. So a lot of these cards are fight cards, where your creatures are fighting another creature or dealing their power and damage to something else. So Titanic Brawl, Psychotic Fury, target multicolored creature gains double strike until the end of the turn. Colony Ambush also doubles as a land if need be, which is useful. Decimate, Aggressive Instinct, this is a damage dealer. Gratuitous Violence, again, stuff that's just really on theme. Choke is in this deck. Now, Choke can be kind of mean. It's kind of a Staxy effect. But if you imagine a wrestler going too far and choking someone, that's why this is here. Also, it doesn't hurt to limit the blue players and the counter spells they can throw at you with a deck like this. Epic Confrontation, another fight card. Go for Blood, fight card. Outmuscles, a fight card. Prey Upon's a fight card. Rabid Bite, you get the idea. Savage Stomp, sounds very much like a wrestling move. Smell Fear. Spinning Wheel Kick, how do you not put a card called Spinning Wheel Kick? It is a damage dealing card that deals damage equal to the creature's power to each of X number of creatures. So you get to hit a lot of targets for XX and 2 green. And it's called a Spinning Wheel Kick. So the wrestler is literally doing a Spinning Wheel Kick. It's just perfect. Strangle, again, gone way too far. Prize Fight, Tail Swipe, Bite Down, and Heightened Reflexes. So not all these are fight cards, obviously, but some of them are just on theme, right? Heightened Reflexes. Target creature gets 1-0 until the end of the turn. Put a first strike counter on it. So first strike until the end of until the end of its existence on the board, whether it gets bounced or removed or something else similar. So that is the setup for this deck, right? It's really designed to make the most of the creatures you get on board, the other wrestlers, the other wolf personas. It is designed to evoke the feel and the flavor of a wrestling promotion, complete with moves and everything. So it really is one of those things that I think is going to play out very nicely. It's a creature-based strategy, which I'm a huge fan of. It doesn't have a ton of ramp in it, like I said, because that stuff as I was looking at some of the cards, because let me tell you, when I was going through all of these things here, I had a list when I was all said and done, when I just piled stuff into a pile and started entering it into Moxfield. I had a list of 167 cards because, as you might imagine, green and red have a lot of cards that can feel really on theme at a glance. And on theme at a glance is kind of how I do all of this when I first do the build. So it took me some precision cutting to get all of this down. Now, something cool that I did with this deck that I think I'm going to do going forward is I didn't just cut the cards from the deck. I moved them to the considering pile. So you can see everything that I had in the deck originally. So if you want to make swaps, or you have a line that you like better than what I've set up here, you can see where I was going and how I was handling all of this. So that is the setup for this deck. That is the deck, the line that, because I named these after songs, the line from the song that I chose is "Bring your heroes to the wolf den, watch them all get crushed," because that felt extremely, extremely appropriate. So this is now coming to the end of the second episode of the Mountain Goats Meets Magic the Gathering. I was really, really pleased with the response to the first video. I really appreciated all the views. I don't know if you maybe came to the first video because you saw John Darnielle or the Mountain Goats Facebook account post about this video, but that's a thing that happened. That was wildly cool. And John actually asked me in a tweet to make him a standard deck. So down the road somewhere, there is going to be a slight deviation from form as we move away from a commander deck, and I build a standard deck sort of in the same fashion, picking a song, all that good stuff. Because when the person who made the thing that inspired you to make your own thing says, "Hey, what you're doing is really cool, can you do this variation on it?" If you have the time and the energy, then that's a thing that I think you should definitely do. So really happy with how this deck turned out. I am looking forward to playing it. Incidentally, if you're watching this the day that it airs, I should be playing it tonight on the One Shot Podcast Network Twitch channel. That is twitch.tv/OneShotRPG. I play Commander there every Monday night, so my hope is to get these videos up on Mondays, assuming I can keep to a schedule, and I will be trying to play the decks that I make as the first game of the night, so you should have a chance to check them out and see how they play. Also, if you like what I'm doing, there are, of course, a few different ways that you can support that. One, if you've not already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and get notified whenever I put one of these lovely, lovely constructions up. You can also go to patreon.com/theothertracy. It's the same as the channel name. And for any amount a month, you can support what I do. When you do that, you get the videos a day early. So as soon as I get this edited, I'm going to post it up to Patreon, and then I'll make it public on YouTube the next day. And really, you also get access to every role-playing game that I've ever made, because I'm a tabletop RPG designer, and I intend to make some of those in the future as well. But it's super, super helpful. As I mentioned in the first video, we have another baby on the way, and though I have a part-time job that I get to work from home and do amazing work for the One Shot Podcast Network, things are always tight. Things are not necessarily the easiest in the world. So support on Patreon is a direct way to make sure that I can carve out the time and the space to keep doing these. So if you enjoyed this, those are all the things you can do. There's an audio version of the podcast you can now find on all the major platforms. Go leave reviews, do all the things. Just spread the love for this show around. Above all, I really, really, really appreciate everyone who watched and who has enjoyed this, and we will see you next time.